Folks, welcome back to the Wanneroo channel. Thank you for tuning in. We have a Winchester Small Pistol Primer test today that we're going to be running. And welcome to the home of non-scientific settled science testing. We're going to have a lot of fun with this, and also too other primers that I have acquired that we're going to be testing those as well. So this is going to be a lot of fun because you always hear out there online, kind of not really like what I'd call old wives' tales, but kind of all these anecdotal tales about different primers, whether they're hot or cold, and how they perform better than other primers, and maybe they got this problem or that problem. And so last summer, I did a project called USPSA. You can check out the 3 videos I did on the channel already with that. And kind of like with a lot of my reloading projects, I'm very straightforward with you guys in terms of, as I go through the project and learn, you guys get to see it too. And sometimes some projects finish very quickly. Sometimes other projects, they take a while to come to completion to where we finally get a load that we're happy with or not. And so that's the cool thing with doing the projects. You never know what you're going to get or what you're going to end up with. In this case, this project here was very successful with these Spear 147 grain bullets, 3.3 grains of tight group powder, perfect load, easy to shoot, very accurate. You couldn't ask for anything better. No need to do any further load development. Well, once we finished that, I happened to come across some Remington primers. So we did a video on that a couple months ago, comparing those to CCI primers and looking at the data between the two and also how they worked out. Well, after that video was finished, I kind of started thinking about things even more. And all these different primers that are out there on the market, I was like, hey, let's start testing these. We have a really good 9mm load here. Let's actually test these various brands of primers. And then we have all this data. And let's actually compare it with one another, and also to compare the function of them, how well do they work in the progressive press, how well are they accurate, are they reliable, are they consistent, all that stuff. And let's actually see how they work. And so the first one here that I got is the Winchester primers. And these apparently are manufactured in Illinois on Winchester's own production line. I don't think the parent company is Olin Corporation. Olin Corporation, as far as I know, they have no connection to CCI, Remington, or any of these other companies. So I think the other thing, too, as I understand with Winchester, a lot of the U.S. military primers and stuff come from Winchester. So probably, and that's one thing, is I've never seen Winchester primers be as common as CCI and Remington primers on the shelf. So perhaps a lot of the primers that they make are allocated for military consumption, and then we kind of get, what the extras are. I have no idea, really. Anybody knows, let me know. But I've seen them on the shelves here and there, and so I was like, look, let's go ahead and test these out, see how they perform. One of the things I'm going to be looking for with these is how well they work in my progressive press, because this has been an issue before with European primers. Of course, this is an American primer, but that's going to be a big thing. Do they work? Do they not work? Do I have issues, jams, whatever? And then also, whenever we actually take these to the range and shoot them, are we going to have that accuracy, reliability, consistency? So we'll be comparing data between these and other primers. Also, too, to let you guys know is that once we finish this project, I have acquired other primers as well. And also, too, feel free to let me know in the comments if there's other small pistol primer tests that you would like me to conduct, just to compare the data to kind of see, how well they do compared to these other primers. Are they hot or cold? Do they work? Whatever. So let's go ahead and start loading these up into our tube, and let's get this project cranking. Now, one thing, folks, is I wanted to show you a close-up look at these primers here now that we dumped them out on our tray. And they look very different from a lot of other primers I'm used to kind of looking at. It's kind of very black in there. Looks almost like a different compound or something that they use. I don't know. Or some sort of sealant, perhaps. I'm not quite sure. You know, a lot of these primers, they always look different with the anvil and whatever the compound is. And I imagine they probably a lot of times use some sort of lacquer or some sort of sealant to kind of protect them from moisture. That's what I've heard. But anyways, I just thought that was kind of interesting and curious. Looking at these, just looking different than a lot of other primers I'm used to looking at. Okay, folks, so we've started loading them into the tube here, and so far no issues. Everything is going good, and doesn't seem to be any feeding issues at all, so that's a good sign. Hopefully everything works out well when we get to the progressive press. All right, folks, so here we are at the progressive. We haven't had any feed issues yet, so that's all going good. But interestingly enough, there is definitely somewhat of a different feel to seating these primers. It's a bit more firm, I guess, for lack of a better word. Feels like it's a little bit of a tighter fit, perhaps, than CCI and Remington whenever you go to seat them. So yes, a little bit of a different feel. In some ways, not bad. They seem to be going in just fine. Not having like any indication that anything is getting hung up or anything like that. Everything seems to be going in. But yeah, certainly more of a firm kind of push required there to go ahead and get everything seated. So yes, a little bit of a different feel. But all good. As long as we go through this whole 100 here without any issues, jamming up or anything like that, I am very happy with that, so we'll take it. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to head up to the range, and we'll go ahead and get our chronograph all set up. We'll do a bit of chronograph testing, and then we'll do a test for accuracy. I believe I was doing it at 20 yards. So we'll just go ahead and do kind of an offhand test with shooting. I know a lot of folks like to do testing off of a rest and stuff, and that's all well and good. Don't mind that a bit, but we're kind of looking at this from a practical application of, hey, you're competing at a match or whatever, you're shooting at a IDPA or USPSA target from 20 yards away with two hands. How's that really going to work out for you? So we'll see how that accuracy is and how the reliability is and how the consistency is. So it's going to be good. Also, too, make sure that before we move on to the range, check out my Amazon store below. I got all my favorite goodies in there, and purchasing through there is a way to support the channel voluntarily. More support we get, more videos I make. So appreciate y'all to do that. All right, y'all, here we are with our Winchester Small Pistol Primers. So we're going to give these a test and see how they go. We have our trusty Walther PPQ here that we're going to go ahead and use for testing, like we've done with other small pistol primer testing in recent times. And then we have our Pro Chrono DLX. We'll go ahead and shoot a string through the chronograph, see what data we get, and then we will go ahead and do a little accuracy test from 20 yards, see how that comes out. We'll wrap it up in the barn later this evening, and we will go ahead and come to our conclusions, and also compare it to previous data with CCI and Remington small pistol primers. So you can see the difference there in the data and see what we get. All right, guys, here we go for some accuracy testing. We're going to go center mass for the first 10 there. All right, let's go up to the top one there. Interesting. Okay, folks, so it is time to wrap up this video. So it's been interesting testing these Winchester Small Pistol Primers. Never used these before, and so wanted to kind of see what our results were. And the results were interesting in the end. And so let's take a look at the data, and here's some of the rounds that we still have. So we'll be shooting those up in due time. In terms of reliability, no issues at all. Didn't have any problems. Everything was fine on that front. Everything up to the actual shooting itself, absolutely no problems at all. So that's good. In terms of that, would I use them again? Definitely. So let's take a look at the data here, okay? So we also have data from before. So if you followed Project USPSA, you can check out those previous videos. It started out looking for a load for USPSA that I could shoot, and because I developed the load so quickly, we ended up morphing into testing primers with that load because it's such a good load. And so I'll show you the previous data that we got from CCI and Remington primers so you can kind of compare that. But we ended up with an average of 966 feet per second. Now, the load that we're using is tight group, and it is 3.3 grains of tight group with a 147 grain spear bullet. I can't remember the overall length off the top of my head, but I've covered all that in the previous videos. So the feet per second here, we were a fair bit higher than the CCI and Remington. So that was interesting. The spread and the standard deviation came out to almost about the same, so there wasn't a huge amount of difference there. Winchester actually ended up kind of in the middle and pretty much about the same as the other two primers. The power factor ended up being a little bit higher because we were going a bit faster. So the power factor ended up as 142. So for those of y'all that shoot in USPSA and all that, personally, at a lot of the matches I've shot at, they've not even tested a lot of folks' ammo, but I think at a lot of the bigger matches they do to come up with that power factor number and how that all plays into their rules and everything. The individual data that we got 965, 945, 954, 974, 988, 994, 961, 958, 962 and 968. So, there was a bit of a spread in there. Would I like to see it a little bit tighter? Yes. One thing that we can say, if we look at the data comparing to CCI and Remington, is we are averaging 30 feet per second higher than CCI and Remington. So from that, we can go ahead and say, well, because people are always saying, well, this primer is hotter than that primer, and this primer is cold, and well, that's why I'm kind of doing these tests, is I'm kind of seeing, well, what is the actual facts there in terms of what is hot or warm or whatever when it comes to primers, and also where we're at on accuracy too. So at least from this test, one thing that we can see is that the Winchester primers are hotter than CCI and Remington. So that was interesting to find out that definitely things are moving along a little bit quicker with these. So interesting to know. The next thing is, let's take a look at the accuracy. So let me whip the target out here. All right, folks. So accuracy, I wasn't super digging the accuracy on this. Now, probably I'd have to go back and look at my previous videos, but it seems to me that I recall the accuracy from this distance of 20 yards was tighter with the other ones. That is what I recall. Now, one thing is, we will give this a little bit of an alibi because the wind was blowing sideways this direction, gusting up over 20 miles an hour. And it's just the thing of when you're filming YouTube videos and stuff, I have highly variable mountain weather. And so a lot of times As you may have seen from previous videos, I'm filming in near snow that's starting to come down, wind, the sun is popping in and out of the clouds, and the temperature variations, all sorts of stuff. It's just the way it is, and you just got to make it work and just do what you need to do. But definitely the wind was blowing this way. That might have contributed to some of the rounds being a little bit sloppy. So we'll give it a pass, kind of maybe a little bit for right now. I would say that in general, just from this alone, if I was looking to do a load strictly for accuracy for shooting in a match, probably then I wouldn't use these. I would probably stick with my usual CCI, and also I've been happy with Remington lately. You know, that's just going off the basis of this one test. I could easily go up there in calm weather and shoot a better group, and of course the shooter can always be at fault as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. You know, so there's just variations and stuff, but you just have to kind of go off of what data you collect, and this is what we have. So it just seems to be a little loosey-goosey to me. Blame it on the wind, don't know. Blame it on the shooter, you know, could be. But at least for right now, that's what I'm going to go with. Now, then I switched once I shot there, and I went ahead and went for the 0 up here and staggered this group all the way up here. There again, could be the wind blowing across. Yeah, maybe. You know, we're shooting slower, heavier bullets there. I don't know. Would that impact it? Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, you know, the group is not bad, but we're just kind of up and away from where that 0 is. Of course, if we're shooting, this is IDPA target actually. If we're shooting like IDPA or USPSA, you know, it all counts the same if you're inside this box. So, you know, I guess that's good. But it just seemed like we were starting to track out of the box or whatever it was. So the accuracy is kind of, you know, well, you know, I'm kind of have mixed thoughts about it. Folks, to go ahead and wrap up this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. So it was interesting to actually do these tests and see what comes out in the wash, because you always hear all this internet conjecture, and so it's interesting to test things myself and kind of see where they end up. Overall, I have to say, reliability from what I found is there. Everything that I loaded and I shot, everything worked fine, no issues at all. It does seem like these are hotter than other primers, so we have that knowledge to kind of go with. So perhaps if I'm loading kind of like one of my sub-gun type loads with 124 grain ammo, and I'm not as concerned about precise accuracy, then these might be a perfect primer to use for that. And I might consider doing that in the future because we do have some 124 grains with a certain powder to go ahead and load in the future. But anyways, and then the accuracy, you know, okay, it's kind of in there, you know, but could it be tighter? I think so. Okay, so now one thing I did see online is that Winchester makes a brand of small pistol match primers, and so it would be interesting to test those out. So I will be keeping my eyes open for those in stock, and we will see if I can get some of those. But I'll be looking forward to going ahead and shooting these. Also, folks, we have more primer tests coming up in the future. So I started out that project to do a USPSA load, and it morphed into testing primers. But it's interesting because I'm able to kind of find, you know, what the real deal is with a lot of these primers and where we are in terms of data. So it's interesting. I am enjoying it. And we do have coming up 2 more different primers that I will be testing out. So stay tuned for those videos. Also, check out other videos on the channel and make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe button. Check out my Amazon store too. Appreciate it. Hey, y'all have a good day now. And any questions or comments, make sure you leave them down below.